I bought my own birthday cake, but I wasn't the one blowing out the candles. The hand on his shoulder, the smile on her face. That was my wife. I know it sounds insane, but that was the image, staring back at me from my phone. On the night of my 34th birthday, rewind a few hours earlier. It started like any other day. I left work early. In my head, I pictured us having dinner together, like the years before. I texted her, "I'm home. Where should we go to celebrate tonight?" Read. Then silence. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Sorry, urgent meeting. Just grab something to eat. Happy birthday." That was it. No more. I sat in the car, staring at the screen. Part of me wanted to reply, "I'll wait," but I was afraid. Afraid it would be ignored, like so many times before. I turned the wheel, stopped at the little bakery on the corner, the one that had seen us pick out cakes every year. I didn't buy the fancy one, just the cheapest chocolate. Enough for two, because I thought she still liked the bitter taste. The clerk asked if I wanted a message written on top. I shook my head. Who would read it? Back home, I placed the cake on the table, lit 3 candles with an old lighter. 3 had always been my lucky number. Now one more, for 34. The dim light flickered against the cracked wall. I thought about snapping a photo, sending it to her, but my hand froze. I didn't have the courage. I blew out the candles alone. Smoke rose. The room filled with sweetness, mixed with something bitter. Later that night, I scrolled through my phone, trying to fill the silence. Then my heart stopped. On the screen, a photo. The same cake. Exactly the one I bought. But the man blowing out the candles wasn't me. He smiled, radiant. And behind him, my wife, her hand on his shoulder, her eyes shining. In that moment, I heard nothing, only the pounding inside my chest. What I had chosen to hold on to, a small warmth to keep our marriage alive, was being used to celebrate their love. I sat frozen in the dark, the glow of the phone painting my face blue, and one thought came, colder than any winter wind. Maybe I was just a guest at my own birthday. My name is Mason. I'm 34. My job doesn't sound glamorous. I'm an interior designer. I don't build skyscrapers. I don't draw monuments. I just turn small rooms into places someone can come back to after a long day. I often tell my clients, a room isn't just walls and ceilings. It's where your breath stays, where your laughter lives, where your family's tears fall. Maybe because I believe that, I wanted my marriage to be a home too. I met my wife at an art exhibit. That night, I stood too long in front of a still life painting. A voice beside me said, "How long have you been staring at this? What's so special about it?" I turned. Her eyes were bright, curious. I stammered at first. Then we talked more. She worked in PR, quick, sharp, the opposite of me. And yet, opposites pulled each other close. She said she liked the calm in my eyes. I saw in her a light I didn't have. We married 2 years later. The wedding wasn't grand, just a few dozen people we loved. But that day I thought, this is the start of a new life. We moved into a small apartment in the suburbs. The balcony looked out over a park. In the mornings, I made coffee. She chose the music. At night, we sat outside, watching the city lights, dreaming of our future. I thought, that was enough for a lifetime. I wasn't rich. My father died when I was still in college, left me and my mother with debts. I worked construction while studying, saved every cent. Later, I opened a small studio. To me, it was the reward for all my youth. I wasn't good with words, but I worked hard for her. Extra jobs, so she could study more. Saved to buy her a used car. I believed love showed in actions, and I gave everything I could. For a while, I thought life was steady. I remember, a year after we married, she leaned on my shoulder and whispered, "I feel safe with you." Just that one line made me feel like the luckiest man alive. But I didn't know. Those nights would slowly fade away. By our 4th year, she came home late. Always for work, client meetings, company events. I believed her. PR jobs are like that. But late nights became routine. Some nights, almost midnight. Her message short. Don't wait up. I remember our 4th anniversary. I booked her favorite restaurant, bought flowers, waited almost 2 hours. The cutlery in front of me, cold. Sometimes I tapped my glass. The sound sharp, lonely. I called. No answer. Finally, a text. "Sorry, I forgot. Busy with a company party." I forced a smile. Replied, "It's okay. We can celebrate later." But inside, I was empty. I brought the flowers home, left them on the kitchen counter. The next morning, petals had fallen, scattered on the floor. I swept them up, threw them away. That was the first time I felt it, truly felt it, alone in my own marriage. I didn't know then. It was only the beginning of the longest loneliness of my life. Still, I tried to keep the old habits. 2 cups of coffee every morning. Even though hers stayed untouched till noon, I asked if she needed me to pick her up. The answer always, no need. I left a jacket on the sofa, in case she got cold coming home late. Most nights, it stayed there, unused. I told myself, people get busy, people change. But the emptiness kept growing. The apartment had light, but no warmth. I sat in the living room, listening to the clock tick, feeling like a stone was pressing down on my chest. Many times I wanted to ask, "Do you still love me?" But every time I saw her, I swallowed the words. I was afraid of the answer, afraid if I asked, this house would collapse instantly. So I chose silence. And silence became the thing that killed us. Some nights, I opened the closet, ran my hand over old shirts, once gifts from her. She used to say, "You look good in this." Now, Shania, the closet was full, but the words were gone. Some mornings, I poured 2 coffees, drank one, watched the other grow cold, leaving stains on the wooden table. I stared at it and thought, maybe marriage is like this cup. If one person never touches it, it grows cold no matter how hard the other tries. If you're a man, you'll know the feeling. Lighting a birthday candle, hoping to blow it out together, but ending up alone, staring at a small flame trembling in the dark. You want to hold on, but you don't know to what. You want to believe, but the truth in front of you keeps wearing you down. I don't blame myself for loving wrong. I blame myself for being naive, for believing love alone was enough. I once thought marriage was like building a room, 1 brick each day, until it became a home. But I forgot. If one person stops building, all that's left are 4 cold walls. And inside those walls, I began to hear the echo of emptiness. On my 34th birthday, the cake I bought with my own hands appeared in someone else's photo. A man I didn't know leaned forward, blowing out the candles, his face glowing with joy. And behind him, my wife, her hand on his shoulder, her smile radiant. That night, my heart shattered. But to understand, let me take you back a few hours earlier. It was a Friday. I packed up my sketches early, feeling a fragile hope. I told myself, at least tonight she'll be home. All I need is a simple meal. 2 candles. That's enough. I called her. The phone rang long before she answered. Her voice rushed. "I'm in a meeting. Say it quick." I drew a breath. "Tonight. Can we eat together? It's my birthday." A pause. The sound of typing in the background. Then her voice. "Sorry. I have to work late. Just eat something without me. Happy birthday." The line went dead. No more words. I sat in my car, watched the crowds rushing outside. Part of me wanted to text, "I'll wait." But my hands shook. I was afraid the answer would be silence. I turned the wheel, stopped at the old bakery, the one that held our sweetest memories. I picked a small chocolate cake, the kind she used to like, bitter at first, but sweet if you let it stay, she once said. The clerk asked, "Do you want a message on top?" I shook my head. Who would read it? Back home, the apartment was dark. I set the cake on the table. The old lighter clicked. A faint flame flickered. I lit 3 candles. 1 more for 34. The golden light spilled onto the mirror on the wall. It showed a face, older, hollow, empty. I picked up my phone, half-typed a message, "I'm waiting," then erased it. I couldn't bear to see Reed. I blew out the candles. Smoke rose. The room smelled of sweetness, mixed with ash. The cake sat still, a silent witness. I thought that was loneliness, but the night was just beginning. Around 10, I picked up my phone, scrolled through the feed, then froze. My heart skipped. There it was, the same cake, the pale blue box, the smudge of frosting on the corner, the same 3 candles. But the man in the photo wasn't me. He leaned in, smiling wide, blowing out my candles. And behind him, my wife, her hand on his shoulder, her smile bright, unbroken. I zoomed in. That hand, once mine to hold. That smile, once mine to keep, now belonging to someone else. My throat closed. I tried to swallow. Nothing went down. The phone slipped from my fingers. I whispered, Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it's not the same cake. But reason answered, no. Every detail matched. Even the smear on the frosting. Below the photo, a comment read, "What a beautiful couple." It felt like a slap. At that moment, my phone buzzed. A message from her. "Go to sleep. Don't wait. I'll make it up to you tomorrow." My chest tightened. Part of me wanted to call, to demand, "Where are you? Who's with you?" But I already knew her reply. "You're just being paranoid." And I would stay silent. I set the phone down. The screen glow washed the wall in cold blue, colder than any winter wind. That night, I realized, sometimes what breaks a man isn't a punch. It's a careless text. I sank to the floor, back against the sofa. The house silent, except for the clock. Tick, tick. I heard my own heartbeat. Fast, unsteady, like it was ready to burst. I wanted to scream, to smash the table, but my hands trembled too much to lift. So I just sat, breathing hard, staring into the dark. The cake was still there, a piece missing. I stared at it and thought, the gift I bought with love is being used as a memory for someone else. I felt like a fool. The one who paid, sitting alone, while another man lived the joy. I looked up. The mirror caught me. The screen glow painted my face, gaunt, empty. And I whispered, "Maybe I'm just a guest at my own birthday." The words echoed in the hollow room. I repeated them, as if carving them into my chest. If you're a man, you'll know the feeling. The feeling of being pushed aside. Even after giving everything, it isn't just pain. It's humiliation. Like building a room, brick by brick, only to learn you're just a guest, and the real owner is someone else. That night, I thought I had hit rock bottom, but I didn't know. The truth was only beginning, and what lay ahead would taste even more bitter. After that birthday night, I stepped into the longest days of my life. The photo of that cake, her smile beside it, burned into me. Closed my eyes, and there it was again. The next morning, I poured 2 cups of coffee. Like always, hers sat untouched, cooling. I watched the steam rise from mine, fade, disappear. My heart felt the same. She came home just as I was leaving for work. A strange perfume followed her in, not the one she usually wore. I asked, "Why so late?" She gave a tired smile. "Company party. I'm exhausted. We'll talk tomorrow." I looked into her eyes. Something was gone. She no longer searched for me. I told myself, last night was nothing. The real storm hasn't even started. From then on, I began watching closer. Credit card bills, expensive restaurants. None with me. I checked the GPS history on her car. A hotel address showed up. I froze. One night, I pretended to work late, parked near her office. At 8, I saw her walk out. Not alone. Beside her, the same man from the photo. They didn't hold hands, but they didn't need to. I raised my phone, hands shaking, snapped a few pictures. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I thought I had enough proof, but the truth was, my heart still refused to believe. That night, when she came home, I asked directly, "Who were you with?" She paused, then smiled faintly. "You're paranoid, just a colleague. You know this industry, clients, partners, all kinds." I showed her the photo. She glanced once, sighed. "You were spying on me? So you really don't trust me at all?" Her words stabbed deep. In one breath, I was no longer the betrayed, but the guilty one. I stammered, I just worry, that's all." She turned away. "I'm tired. Don't make this bigger than it is." The bedroom door closed, left me alone in the yellow light of the living room. I realized her silence hurt more than any confession. From then on, the air in the house grew heavy, like a wall between us. I still cooked dinner, but ate alone, her plate untouched. Thrown out the next morning, I still left a jacket on the sofa. Most nights, it stayed there, never worn. I still poured 2 coffees, one always cold. Every time her phone rang, my chest tightened. Her voice soft, her laughter gentle, but no longer for me. Slowly, I began living like a tenant, in my own home. One night, while she showered, her phone buzzed on the table. A name flashed. His name. The message lit up. "I miss your smile from last night." My vision blurred. I wanted to open it, but my finger froze. I knew, with one swipe, I'd see more. But I was afraid. Afraid the proof would leave me with no excuses left. I sank to the floor, listened to the water running in the bathroom, each drop like a hammer to my chest. Still, I didn't give up. One weekend, I set the table. Breakfast, fresh flowers, movie tickets tucked aside. I told myself, if we spend time together, maybe things will change. She sat down, looked at the food, then frowned. Why so much? I have to work early. My schedule's packed. My voice cracked. It's Sunday. She went quiet. Then muttered, I have a client meeting. You eat. The door slammed shut. Left me with cold eggs. Coffee steam fading to nothing. I sat there, feeling like a fool, holding onto a rope already frayed. Another night, I asked, Are you really happy? If you're not, just tell me. She frowned. What's wrong with you? I'm just busy. Stop imagining things. I wanted to believe her, but every word cut deeper, not bleeding at once, but slicing slow. I began to understand. Betrayal isn't just in the act. It's in the lies, repeated so many times they make you doubt yourself. I thought I was used to the silence, the cold bed, the meals alone. But then, one night, I got what no man wants. A call from an unknown number. A rough voice said, You should know the truth about your wife. My heart stopped. I gripped the phone tight. And in that moment, I knew. Everything I feared was only the tip of the iceberg. I thought I was used to pain. But then one phone call pushed me to the edge. Late at night, sitting in the dark living room, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. At first, I ignored it. But the ringing wouldn't stop. I picked up. A rough voice spoke. Do you want the truth? Tomorrow night. Cafe number 9, 8 o'clock. Bring nothing but courage. I tried to ask his name, but the line went dead. I sat frozen, heart pounding. I knew tomorrow I could no longer escape. 8 o'clock. The next night, I walked into the cafe. Yellow light spilling across wooden tables. The sharp scent of roasted coffee. I sat in the corner, hands clenched numb. The door opened. My wife walked in. Beside her, Caleb. They sat near the window, close. His hand wrapped around hers. His eyes, the look of a man who had won. A waiter approached, placed a thin envelope in front of me, whispered, You should see this. I opened it. Photos spilled out. My wife and Caleb, hand in hand outside a hotel, their lips brushing under streetlights. Her smile, brighter than I'd ever seen with me. My vision blurred. But I knew. It was time. I stood, every step heavy, dragging the weight of my home behind me. I set the envelope on their table. My voice low, rough. Do you need me to print more copies? To make it clearer? The cafe froze. My wife shot up, face pale. Caleb pulled his hand back, eyes darting between me and the photos. What are you doing here? She stammered. I should ask you that. I pulled out a chair, sat down, eyes locked on hers. On my birthday, you said you were working, but you were here, with him. Her face flushed. Her voice rose. Don't make a scene, this is just work. I laughed, bitter, shoved a photo into the center of the table. What kind of work holds hands outside a hotel at 1 a.m? She faltered, then struck back. Mason, did you ever think maybe it's because you're so cold, so quiet? Living with you feels like living with a wall. You never talk, you never listen. I froze. The pain wasn't that she was wrong, but that she was right. Caleb leaned in, his voice steady. She needs someone who looks into her eyes, someone who really listens. Do you even know how lonely she's been all these years? Every eye in the cafe was on us. I clenched my fists, veins straining, my chest tight. But my voice stayed even. You may think you're her savior, but don't forget, everything you have now was built by me. I pulled an old lighter from my pocket, placed it on the table. That lighter once lit our memories. Now it was proof of betrayal. On my birthday, I lit 3 candles with this. The next morning, I saw that same cake in your photo. That wasn't doubt. That wasn't suspicion. That was truth. Her hands trembled. Tears fell. I'm sorry. I didn't realize it would go this far. I stared into her eyes, my voice cut. Didn't realize? You crossed every line, every lie, every hotel door, and you say you didn't realize? She broke down, sobbing. Caleb lowered his head, silent. I drew a breath, stood tall, my voice clear, sharp. You were once my home, but now you're just a stranger who lived here. The words split the air like a blade. The cafe went silent. I looked at her one last time. The hair I once loved, now wet with tears, and turned away. The door swung open. Night wind cut across my face, cold. I walked out, my chest hollow. but my shoulders, strangely lighter. On the sidewalk, I lifted my eyes to the cloudy sky, and one thought echoed. I lost my wife, but I also lost the last illusion. And that was the beginning of the real reckoning. When I stepped out of that cafe, the night wind hit my face like 1,000 needles. I had said it, the final words, but behind me was an emptiness so deep my legs trembled. I had lost my wife, and I had lost the version of Mason who once believed in marriage. Back home, I turned on the light. White light spilled across an empty room. The sofa where I once waited for her. The table where I once set her place. Now, they were props from a play whose curtain had already fallen. I opened the fridge. The birthday cake still sat inside. I picked it up, dropped it into the trash. The dull thud sounded like burying part of my own heart. She packed quickly, never looked me in the eye, left a note. I'm sorry, I didn't have the courage to say goodbye. I folded it, slid it into the drawer. Beside the parking ticket, the cupcake voucher, the envelope of photos, a small museum of betrayal. The mornings after, I still poured 2 cups of coffee. One for me, one for the ghost that wouldn't return. That cup grew cold. I poured it out, washed it, set it back on the shelf. Not because I still hoped, but because my body hadn't yet learned how to forget. At night, I lay listening to the clock. Tick, tick. Once I hated the silence. Now it felt like a slow song. Sad, but honest. One afternoon at the supermarket, I saw them. Her and Caleb. They laughed, pushing a cart like any ordinary couple. For a second, her eyes met mine. Just 1 second. Enough to see her flinch. She turned away, pretended to study a carton of milk. Caleb's hand slid onto her back. As if that place had always been his, I froze. Fingers crushing the handle of my basket. Memories rushed back. The mornings we bought coffee together. The times she teased me for forgetting napkins. All those little moments now belonged to someone else. I wanted to walk over, to ask, "Are you happy?" But I didn't. Instead, I turned, walked to the checkout. For the first time, my heart didn't scream. It was quiet, like a scar beginning to close. Some nights, I scrolled through my contacts. My finger stopped at her name, almost called, almost typed, "Are you okay?" But then I saw the cold cup of coffee on the table, remembered the supermarket, and set the phone down. I realized it wasn't love I still felt. It was the unfamiliar weight of emptiness, and I had to learn to live with it. My mother called, her voice trembling. "Son, I heard. Are you all right?" I bit my lip, whispered, "I'm fine." But when she said, "You're not alone," the tears finally fell. Ethan, my college friend, came over. He didn't preach, didn't lecture, just slid a beer across the table. "Drink, just don't forget yourself." That night, I drank, but I didn't get drunk. My head lightened. My heart stayed heavy. A week later, she called, her voice broken. "Mason, I'm sorry, I've lost everything. Can you forgive me?" Silence. Then I said, "You didn't lose everything. You just lost me, and I lost you." She sobbed. I didn't hang up. I just listened. When her crying faded, I spoke slowly. "Our road is done, goodbye." I ended the call. Let the phone fall to the table. I sat straight, listened to my own heartbeat. Steady now. No trembling. I started running in the mornings. Heavy steps. Breath ragged. Lungs burning like fire. But at least, the physical pain drowned the memories. One morning, I stopped in the park. Sat on a bench. A child ran past, holding a red balloon. It slipped. I caught it. The child smiled. "Thank you, mister." I watched him run off. And for a moment, I felt lighter. I realized the world kept going, and so must I. One night, cleaning the house, our wedding photo fell from its frame. Glass shattered. I picked it up, looked into the eyes of the man in the picture. My own eyes, bright, trusting, naive. I whispered, "You loved with everything. That's enough." Then placed the photo in a box and put it away. I had no philosophy to share, only this. Sometimes, to survive, you must lock your memories in a drawer and walk on. The next year, on my birthday, I bought myself a small cake. Not chocolate, not fancy, just plain vanilla. No candles. I sat in a cafe near home, opened the box. A boy at the next table stared, curious. I cut the cake in half, offered him a piece. His eyes widened. Then he smiled. "Thank you, mister." I ate the other half. Sweet, Simple, not bitter. And I understood. A birthday doesn't need someone beside you. Sometimes, just knowing you're still alive and that you can share a small piece with someone else is enough for a new beginning. I looked out the window. Streetlights washed across my face. My heart didn't ache anymore. It beat slow, steady, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. More than a year has passed. I don't count the days anymore. At first, I crossed them off on the calendar, like waiting for a sentence to end. But one morning, I forgot. And that's when I knew. I'd gone farther from the darkness than I thought. The apartment, once suffocatingly silent, became a place of quiet peace. I changed the curtains, bought a few small plants. Each morning, when sunlight slipped through the leaves, I realized this wasn't a graveyard of memories anymore. It was a place I could breathe. I still made coffee, but just one cup. And for the first time, when I looked across the empty chair, it didn't hurt. It was just empty. And that was okay. One afternoon, I saw her again, at the train station. She was alone, tired, her face thinner than before. Our eyes met. She froze, lips trembling like she wanted to speak. But in the end, she only gave a small nod. I nodded back. No anger, no blame, no longing. Just two strangers, who once walked the same road. The train rushed past, and with its wind, whatever was left between us was gone. In that moment, I knew. I had truly let go. One night, I turned off every light, sat in the living room. No music, no phone, just darkness. Once, that silence was my nightmare. This time, I sat still, listened to my own breathing, and I smiled. I realized darkness is only frightening when you're waiting for someone else to light it. But when you strike your own match, it becomes just another part of life. Sometimes, I speak to the man I was a year ago, the one who sat crying on the floor of this same apartment. I tell him, you loved with all you had, and you hurt with all you had. There's no shame in that. You lost in marriage, but you won in finding yourself again. And I believe he would understand. This year, on my birthday, I bought another cake. Not chocolate, not vanilla. Just a small, plain white cake. I took it to the park, sat on a bench. An old homeless man sat a few steps away, his tired eyes watching. I cut the cake in half, handed him a piece. Surprised, he smiled, nodded. Thank you. I ate the other half. Sweet, not bitter. The wind stirred the trees. Leaves whispered. And for the first time, the cake wasn't a symbol of betrayal. It was a symbol of sharing. I once thought happiness was having someone waiting at home. Now I know. Happiness is walking into a dark room and not being afraid of the dark anymore. I once thought silence could keep a marriage together. Now I know. Silence only widens the distance. If you love someone, speak before every word becomes too late. And I once thought losing a person meant losing everything. Now I see. When you still have yourself, you've never truly lost it all. I stood, left the park. The city lights flickered on. Crowds hurried past. Clouds covered the night sky. But in the gaps, a few stars still shone. I drew a deep breath, kept walking. My heart no longer heavy, beating slow, steady, reminding me, you're still here, you're strong enough to live. And maybe that was the greatest gift I'd received after it all. Peace.